Welcome to CLI. Today I'm going to demonstrate a few of the most common device manager features. This is the third installment of 3 videos. The first video demonstrated the installation of the SQL database. The second video demonstrated the installation of the device manager software. And the topic of this video is to demonstrate the most common device manager features. So let's get started. Let's double click and start or launch the device manager. You'll get a logon prompt and the password is empty. This is a default and I've left mine this way, so we'll just click OK. And here is our device manager dashboard. If your subnets are not, or your devices are not visible, you would have to click on subnets and then discover them. And if you're not on the same subnet with your PC running device manager software, you would have to create a subnet that puts you or lets you point to the same group that your thin clients are located on. You can do that by right-clicking your mouse in the white space, selecting New, and then completing the form here and click on OK to create that subnet. Then again, go and once that new one is created, click on that to discover your devices. So one of the simplest things that you can do with the thin clients is remote into them as if you were working right in front of them. And to do so, you would select the thin client device by left-clicking on it and then selecting the monitor icon or right-clicking on that and selecting remote display. And as you can see, we are in one of the remote thin clients. This happens to be a CE model. If you select a different one, then you can just see the difference here. This is a West 7 device, and our third device is also a West 7 device and ready to launch a VMware View client. Okay. Also down here, let me point out, this is the thin client database. And it will record and keep track of any previously discovered thin clients on your network. And this will actually help speed up the discovery process if you have an exceptionally large network and help you find those thin clients faster. Another item on here is what we call users and permits. And as you remember, I had my administrator account set up with no password. And you can also set up user accounts. This is where you would add the password. And you can also add new accounts. Let's say, for example, we wanted to set up a new user. And we'll call that, call that user a help desk user. And in this case, again, I'm not going to select a password. So we'll click Create. And we'll close this. And there's our new help desk. Now you can see that under the permits we can give all kinds of descriptions here by checking the box. We can give this person reboot capabilities, obviously remote display. We're going to take away remote imaging capabilities. We'll give them remote shutdown. We'll let them have the remote repository. And so there's all different kinds of permissions that you can give, and this is where you would do that. Next of all, we have the remote images. And as you can see in this field, our remote images are empty. But let's say we went into one of our thin clients and we set it up exactly the way we wanted it to be. We've got everything set up here, and this is the image that we want to set forth or give to our users and put into a production mode. Then what we would do is, once this is completed, we would simply drag or left-click on the IP address, drag that down into this empty space of the remote images section, release it, and we get a little pop-up window here that lets us name what that image is. And it'll default basically the firmware version in here. You can go ahead and change that to be anything you want. Give it a meaningful description like manufacturing floor, or let's say production gold. And something that makes sense to you. My typing is not that great. And then click on OK. what will happen is this will set a, it'll put it in here in red, and then it'll start a 200-second countdown on your thin client. And after the 200 seconds are done, this gives the thin client time to reboot and get ready to take that image and start offloading it. And what you don't want to do is interrupt this process on your thin client. And second of all, you don't want to be doing remote images or pulling and pushing images on a wireless connection. You do want to be have a wired network connection to your thin client for this. So this is going to take some time. Also, when this is completed and it's properly written to your image database, the red print here will actually turn from red to black, also giving you a confirmation that this task has been completed. I'm going to pause the video at this point, and then we'll resume once this has been completed. And just so you can see, here is the status feedback. It's a percentage count timer, and we're at 61% of uploading or downloading our image. Okay, and as you can see, we are done with the image pull, and as I had said, this would change to black. So now we have an image in our database here that is saved. Now if you had a bunch of thin clients that you wanted to clone or give the same image to, all you would do is click it here, drag it, and drop it on top of the IP address, and you would be able to clone the device. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let that go back here, but you get the idea. To pull it, you bring it down. To push it, you pull it back up and drop it on the IP address. If you were going to take a CE image, it would be a little bit different. What you would do there is you would drop it into a remote setting, and because it's a CE, it works a little bit differently. Now, another thing that we can do here is we can schedule to do things on our thin clients. So by clicking on the Schedule tab, you notice that we don't have any set up, but we can click on the new schedule icon, or simply right-click in the white space here and create a schedule. Let's say it's let's call it green, because we're going to turn these devices off at a certain time and then turn them on. So what we want to do here is, from our pull-down menu, select shutdown, and then we can do a start time. You can change that by calendar and then time. If you want to log the file so that you can actually check that this indeed has been done, you can do that. And then down here, you can do, if you want to make this all the time, you can change this value to 0, and that means it will do it the same time every day. And I'm just going, and then you can click OK, and then you can see that your schedule is here. You can actually select it and then hit the run arrow to start it. I'm not going to do that for now, but that is another feature that you can have available to you. Also, you can, besides the subnets, you can select logical group, and again, by clicking in the right space, you can create a new one. And you might want to sort these by these different items here: the flash size, the domain, the firmware, location, memory, the model number, or things that you've put in the user 1, 2, or 3 field. If I select model and OK, then I can go in here and select one of the models, and it'll show you all the thin clients under that model. I only have one. Or if I select the MT2300, I have one, and I'm not sure what my other one was. If it's a, and so it might be one of these. But anyway, so you get the idea of how that works as well. Also, under the file, if you click the file and then options, I wanted to show you mainly the remote setting. This here under remote settings shows you the data directory where your images are stored, and obviously you can put them anywhere you want, but since the DevMan was loaded into program files, there is a data directory built underneath DevMan, and those images that you pulled are all in there. So this is where you can change that setting of where you want to store them, or just leave the default. And finally, what I wanted to point out was that there are lots of fields under the client here, and let's bring some of these into focus. You can see the domain that you've got them loaded on, the model, the brand, which is Computer Lab or CLI, the memory size, the flash size. These are fields that you can fill in for location and user. I put in my name here and my location, and then last of all, it also shows you the serial numbers, the scan dates, if it's Wake on LAN. And actually, Wake on LAN, that reminds me of one more item to show you, and that is on Wake on LAN. If you click on the subnet group here, there is a Wake up LAN on the pull down menu, and if a device has been turned off, you would simply select the device and the IP address of it, select that, and then click Wake Up, and it would actually wake up your device and turn it from an off state back to an on state. So that is probably all the high-level features, the ones that you'll probably use the most. This concludes the walkthrough of the Device Manager features. If you have any questions, please give us a call or send us an email. Thank you.